Welcome back to Fair It's Gone, Episode 1, Section 3. On today's episode, we have just a jam-packed predictions episode, kind of an opening day teaser, kind of what we're going to see out of the entire season this year. You're going to want to stay tuned for this jam-packed episode.
What we do here is go back.
Welcome back, Section 3. Finally, a little opening day here coming up soon. I think this is going to be less analytical, more talk, finally. Got kind of the last two analyticals talk about the offseason, talking about, I guess, some of the rosters here. We're actually going to get some predictions and maybe a couple hot debates. You never know what's going to happen here. But this one should be a little bit amped up. Again, as I said, we're getting more into predictions, and we got to start with who's going to be in the World Series this year. It sounds like a very obvious question, but you never know, especially back to 162 instead of your usual 60 games where anything can happen, where the Miami Marlins are in the playoffs somehow. Stuff like that may kind of go by the wayside here. Who is your NL team this year? Who's your NL team?
There's only one team to pick. As much as I didn't want to go chalk,
The Miami Marlins.
Yes, exactly. How'd you know?
Thank you.
It's the Dodgers. I've got them going to the World Series this year. I didn't want to go chalk, but they're just too good. The only thing that's going to stop them is injuries.
Yeah, I agree. I had to go Dodgers.
Injuries will stop them because they are that good.
Yeah, I had to go Dodgers too. Anytime Chris Taylor may not be in the lineup as a guy who would probably start at center field and or second base for 29 other teams in the league, they're deep. They're deep. I also had to go Dodgers as well. As much as I wanted to be the hometown guy and say Braves, I would be doing a disservice to a decent person trying to talk sports here. On the AL side, I guess I'll start since your team's in AL. I finally have the Minnesota Twins beating the Yankees and making themselves to the first World Series based strictly off that their offense will be the best offense in the league this year. They're probably going to break the record for home runs again. Their offense is ridiculous. With Maeda kind of seeming like he's doing, he's picking up in there. You have Jose Barrios, you have Pineda. The rotation looks good this year. I think the AL is more wide open than it has been in years. Frankly, with the lack of signage from the Yankees in the starting rotations. And then obviously with the Angels lacking to do anything and I think the Twins could easily take the Central and make themselves to the World Series. So right now I have Twins and Dodgers.
By that, I think that's a fair argument, but you're wrong, and here's why. I think I was allowed to be not having the Dodgers in the AL really lacking a super team. I was allowed to be homer that you weren't allowed to be. I've got the Yankees in the World Series. They're the best team in the AL. The Astros have taken a step back. Verlander's going to be out likely the whole year. He may come back late, but won't have him most of the season. Springer's gone. I think there are questions about Altuve now going forward, whether he's going to maintain that level of play. I don't think the Astros are quite there. I like the Twins. I think they're pretty easily the second best team in the AL. However, just like I will not bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs, I have two rules in baseball. I will not bet on the Twins in the playoffs until they prove me otherwise, and I will not bet on the Phillies to complete a healthy regular season until they prove me otherwise. Right now, the Twins have not proven me otherwise. I'm going with the Yankees.
This is the year, baby. I can feel the Twins. Look.
How many years in a row have we said that?
Look, here's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be like Game 7, right? Yankees are up like a nice 3-2 lead. Next thing you know, Roldis Chapman's walking in, bottom of the ninth, ready to close this thing out and go to the World Series. And JD's just going to drop the hammer for a 2-run nuke shot. And Roldis is going to stand there smiling, just like he did when Altuve dropped that nuke shot out of left field. And I'm just going to be happy because my boy JD is finally in a World Series. The former AL MVP, Braves legend, 1-year Braves legend, my man crush. Can I stop now? I think I can stop.
Do you know what you have to do to get to a Game 7?
Have Randy Domnack pitch Game 6.
You to win not one, not two, but 3 playoff games just to get to a game 7. And what have the Twins not done once in their last 19 playoffs?
They're due. They're due.
They've
They're due.
not won a
They're
single
due.
game.
They're due, baby. They're due.
They're due for a couple, but I can totally see it. It would not surprise me.
And here's the
Just
thing.
say, I mean, we said last year and they got beat by the Astros in 2 games. I just until the Twins make a run, I will not bet on them to perform in the playoffs.
And then here you go. Let me set this picture for you one time. World Series. Kenley Jansen has found his form again. He's just looking nasty. Nelson Cruz stepping up to the plate. It's like it's game 4. Game 4, the Twins are making a little rally here on game 4. Nelson Cruz, Kenley hangs a cutter a little high. Nelson Cruz takes about 430. Announcer comes over. Nelson Cruz, 430-yard bomb. I said yard. I'm lost. 430-foot nuke shot. Twins are now down 14-2. And then the Dodgers win in 4. And then we can call it a World Series. After that happens, and the Dodgers win. So yeah, I without a doubt.
You had me in the first half.
Yeah.
You had me in the first half. Yeah. I was not ready for that plot twist.
No. Yeah. I think I have the Dodgers winning the World Series. There's really no other way to go. This is like picking anyone but Golden State in the 2015 to 2017, 2018 run. It's kind of like that at this point. Or picking anyone not named the Miami Heat in the early 2010s. It's gotten that bad. That's how stacked they are this year.
Yeah, as much as I want to pick the Yankees, as much as it pains me, and it really actually doesn't pain me because, again, the Dodgers are just that good. You cannot pick against them. If anybody, legitimately, if anybody who puts out a series prediction that does not involve the Dodgers winning the World Series, just a BS hot take for attention. I mean, no baseball analyst fan in their right mind would pick against this Dodgers team. They are literally that stacked. And the big difference I see with this Dodgers team is there's not necessarily a team that's that close to them.
No.
I think even our 2 and 3 teams in power rankings last session differed, and they're that much better than the rest of the league. And yeah, there's a chance they don't win it. Stuff happens, but for you to walk in and seriously predict anyone else to win it, you just BSing for attention.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, like you said, I think we had some kind of mixture of Braves, Padres, Yankees there, top at 2, 3, 4, and I would say the Dodgers are a good 2 steps above them. Not even 1 step at this point. They're a good 2 steps above the next 3 teams in elite contention for that World Series title.
I would say team 2, maybe. I think you could make an argument the second best team in baseball is probably closer to the 10th team than the second best team is to the Dodgers.
Oh, you definitely could. You absolutely could. You 100% could. Anyways, I'm done talking about the Dodgers for the time being because I don't enjoy talking about it because that's all I've heard about for the past few months. So let's kick it into some awards here. I'm just gonna go ahead and get the bland, not hot, probably the coldest possible take out here. We're talking about MVPs. I have Trout as my AL MVP. I mean, the man this year, if he has a season like he's been having, could pass King Griffey Jr. on the all-time WAR, which is ridiculous if you think about it. That King Griffey Jr. guy we hold as a top 5 center fielder. A lot of people hold him in their top 3 outfielders of all time. And a guy who changed the game forever, and Mike Trout quietly is about to surpass him.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to go chalk again. Trout, to me, that's the same situation as the Dodgers at this point. If you go in predicting anyone other than Trout, you're just looking for attention.
Oh yeah, you're looking for clicks, right? You're just absolutely looking for clicks.
Yeah. It's like Miami Heat LeBron. Every year he is the front runner for the MVP, and for good reason.
Yep.
There's not much else to say.
Absolutely. With that being said, take it over to the NL. Who's your guy? Who's your guy this year?
This will be a really interesting race to me because I mean you've got the defending, I guess, reigning MVP. Is that the phrasing? Reigning MVP and Freddie Freeman. Mm-hmm. Then you've got a multitude of guys who have either been in the conversation, won it, or are about to be in the conversation. Soto, Acuna, Arenado, Goldschmidt,
Tatis.
Trevor Story could make a run. Yeah. Yelich, Harper. Like NL to me is wide open. So that's why I'm going to go with the new guy, Lindor. I think the change of scenery and the better lineup around him is really going to help him take off. Had a little bit of a down year last year, his best season, but I like the change of scenery for him. He's in a contract year. I think he's parlaying for a big deal. Tatis kind of set the market now with his extension. I think Lindor probably wants to get paid like that. I think the storyline around him going to the Mets will help him a little bit too in the voting, but I'm going to go Lindor.
It's a solid pick. I decided to go with the best pure hitter in Major League Baseball. I went with Juan Soto. There's no one who hits the ball better than Juan Soto. Look, he's a guy as a Braves fan I tried to hate. I really did. With every part of me, I tried to dislike him and make him a guy that I can't stand. But at the end of the day, he's fun. He's fun to watch. He is the best hitter in baseball, unquestioned at this point, especially after last year's 60-game season. I don't think there's any number or any person's stories or takes or whatever that could probably convince me otherwise. He's putting up numbers that are on Ted Williams level. And the man's 23. I could defense Shmi fits at this point. We just had 2 first basemen win MVPs, where defense is literally absolutely completely irrelevant to the game of baseball. Juan Soto's my guy this year. If he even has 75% of what he put together last year, he'll still have an OPS over 1,000. So he's going to be ridiculous. I pinned him down as this year's MVP. And like you said, I think it's going to be really exciting, especially in the NL for the next decade or two. And we're talking about guys like Story, Tatis, Pete Alonso's in that conversation, Ronald Acuña's in that conversation. It seems like every team has some 22 to 25-year-old who is already on that superstar level that we're going to be talking about MVPs for the next decade. And it's going to keep things wide open, unlike in the AL where we just pick Mike Trout every year.
Yeah, no, I like the Soto pick. He's kind of my runner-up. I wanted to take him. Ultimately, I mean, I know I'm kind of high on the Mets. You could make the same argument there that I just made with the Twins about don't bet on the Mets. They always seem to choke it out somehow.
Yeah.
Like it or not, team success plays a role in the award. I have the Mets having a decently better season than the Nationals, and that was kind of the tiebreaker for me, honestly. And Soto is just phenomenal. He reminds me a lot of a more well-rounded David Ortiz in the fact that he's a great hitter. Soto a little more average, less power. Not great defender, but just even as a Yankees fan, I could not hate David Ortiz. He was so fun to watch. Infectious love for the game. Soto's the same way.
Yep. Soto's he's ridiculous. He's ridiculous. As I kind of foreshadowed with Trout, I'm gonna kick it over to the NL Cy Young, where I'm just gonna get my boring, bland pick out of the way. Jacob deGrom is my Cy Young. He, at this point, over the last 5 seasons, has turned himself already into the Mike Trout of pitchers. Like, the guy has had 5 consecutive seasons of just ridiculous numbers, over and over and over and over and over again. And at this point, if he's a Hall of Famer in my opinion, really. When we're talking about guys from this generation of pitching, Jacob deGrom's going to lead the way. That post Clayton Kershaw, post Max Scherzer kind of prime, Jacob deGrom's picked up right where those guys left off as the top dog. That's just year in year out, start after start, going to be just disgusting. And with deGrom maybe getting a little bit more love from the media attention because the Mets do have a better team. They have a more exciting team. They are going to get a lot more media attention this year than past years. deGrom, even though he's won the awards in the past and been so good in the past, might get even more love than he's already been getting. So deGrom's my very easy, boring, get out of the way pick.
No, I'm with you there. He's as slam dunk as it gets now. He's Trout level as far as just set it and forget it. I've got deGrom as well. Kind of like Trout. If you're picking against him, you're looking for attention.
Yeah, he's such an easy pick. Like the dude's unbelievable. Let's talk about AL Cy Young. Now this one's really wide open. You could go Coltrane, which would be the easiest one.
I went Coltrane.
Yeah, what a surprise! What a surprise!
So I decided to get my being a homer out of the way when I could kind of have an excuse for it, back it up.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I've got Cole. I don't even know that he's a step down from deGrom. They're both as dominant.
Well, it depends. It depends with these new rules.
Verlander, yeah.
with these two?
Verlander's out now for this year.
I,
I got Cole.
I
He's
guess
just as close to.
I guess this is when I bring this up because we're talking about Cy Youngs. We're talking about Garrett Cole in particular as one of the main guys here. The new super foreign substance focus that MLB is putting out. If there's two guys it's going to hurt, it's going to be guys named Trevor Bauer and Garrett Cole, as both of them have accused each other and been back and forth and highly patronized. I'm not sure what the word I'm trying to use here is for stuff like that, or they've been suspected of using stuff like that to boost their spin rates. So if there's two Cy Young caliber guys you need to look out for with these new super forward, super on top of foreign substance use on the mound, it would be those guys. With that being said, Coltrane's easy pick. With that being also, I didn't take the easy picker. I'm actually going Lucas Giolito, a guy who really came into his own last year. I think outside of Garrett Cole, it's wide open. Shane Bieber's there, obviously from last year. I think it's wide open. Outside of Bieber and Cole, there's not a guy that I look at that I think, oh, that's a slam dunk Cy Young pick. And that's why I think Lucas Giolito can get off to a great start here. He's shown a lot of promise. He's built on the last two seasons, and I think this is the year that he finally puts it all together for 30 starts and snags him that Cy Young bid. With, of course, team success, the White Sox are supposed to be better this year. I also have to mention that.
No, I like that pick. Big fan of Giolito. He's a good dude.
Let's go to Rookie of the Year. Again,
This should be.
Rookie of the Year is one of these awards that is so up for grabs because we don't know who's coming up, who's going to be sent down, who's going to stay, who's not going to stick. Like last year, I'm pretty sure both of us went Lux, and we didn't even sniff a single bit of Gavin Lux last year, under the assumption he was going to be their everyday second baseman, which he wasn't. It didn't really make a big difference there at the end run as they won the World Series. But Rookie of the Year, yeah, it's a tough reward. So I'll start us off in the AL here. I actually have a guy who's going to be on a team that's going to be probably at the bottom of their division. I actually have Ryan Mountcastle as the AL Rookie of the Year. Kind of coming off of what Kyle Lewis did last year in Seattle, where team success doesn't mean a single thing when it comes to Rookie of the Year, unlike maybe the other two awards we just talked about. Mountcastle is a guy who could easily go for 30, 40 plus home runs. He might strike out 150 to 200 times, but in today's game, no one really cares about that. I think his slug's going to be high. I think he's going to be an exciting guy to watch in Baltimore when you pair him with Mancini. I think they're two very similar players. But I think Matt Castle can frankly snag it here. I'm really high on Matt Castle's power. He's always been like kind of that mid-level prospect, but a guy who's shown that he can produce at every level. I'm excited to see Mountcastle in Baltimore this year, and I think he can snag himself the Rookie of the Year award.
Like that pick. Mountcastle's good. At the very least, he will have pretty guaranteed playing time. There's always a plus for the Rookie of the Year award. We saw it with Kyle Lewis last year. Team success really not a factor in that award. If anything, being on a bad team helps you a little bit. Like Mountcastle, I went Andrew Vaughn. I think the White Sox GM just said today that service time is not going to be a factor with Vaughn. Dude can rake. I expect him to be up pretty soon. In that lineup, he's going to be filthy.
Yeah, it's a great pick. I love Andrew Vaughn.
Well, I would say I'm very tempted to go Kelenic, but I think from everything that I've heard so far, the Mariners are much more inclined to keep Kelenic down for service time than the Sox are with Vaughn, so that's kind of my tiebreaker there.
I'm sure they are after he didn't sign that absolutely terrible offer they gave him. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are.
A player wants to bet on himself, which would probably lead to better performance instead of getting complacent. Let's trash the dude.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And now I guess it's my time to finally be a homer. I am actually going with Ian Anderson. Believe it or not, he is still rookie eligible this year. After last year, obviously he's not going to be able to redo what he did last year. I don't think anyone's going to be able to do that. But a guy who's going to be a staple in that rotation. And last year he was almost doing it on his own. He didn't have any veteran presence at all with the exit of Julio Teheran, who I think helped Mike Soroka and Max Fried more than most people would actually think. He was doing it strictly on his own, trying to figure it out by himself. With Charlie Morton coming in, who's historically been a very good pitcher. it's going to help Anderson over that 30-game hump rather than just over the 11 or 12 starts he had last year. I think Anderson can continue his success and actually take away this Rookie of the Year award.
Good pick. Good pick. I went actually with Brian Hayes. I think he hadn't been a great hitter in the minors, but after getting called up last year, he really stroked the ball. And his defense is otherworldly. Arenado like defense at the corner, so if he can just hit his way out of a paper bag, I think he's got a good shot at Rookie of the Year. As far as just why would that defense gives him a decent floor? And if he can hit like he did this past fall at all, I think he'll be close to a shoe-in. But
at the bare minimum,
Anderson pitches like he did last year too. That should be a really good race with the two of them, and then Sixto Sanchez as well.
Oh yeah. Say and I was wide
I'm
open
not
again.
surprised if any of the three of them win it.
I wouldn't be surprised. Let's finish out. So I decided kind of pre-pod that we're gonna scratch Coach of the Year, strictly because that's literally a talk of what team do you think is gonna overperform, or do the Rays, Athletics, or Angels make the playoffs? Because if they do, it's usually just thrown their way. Um, it's a pretty boring discussion, so we're just gonna chalk it. You're just gonna bang it, move on. So we're just gonna finish this out with relief pitcher of the year, which is gonna be interesting. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and get my chalk, my very easy one out of the way. AL, I went with Aroldis Chapman. He's gonna be on was probably gonna be the best AL team, best regular season AL team. He's gonna get a lot of save opportunities. He's apparently added a splitter to his repertoire, which just makes me mad because now I have to face that in MLB The Show. So that just makes me even more angry than I already have been about Rose Chapman getting a sinker this year. So now he has a splitter, which is just going to make him be even better longevity wise. He's only throwing 99 to 100 only. I'm going to put that in quotes for everyone. Only 99 to 100, unlike his past 103. So he felt like he needed an off-speed pitch finally, because he's only hitting triple digits half the times he used to. I just think he's going to be as dominant as possible. It's very boring pick, but hey man, who else? Liam Hendricks, give me a break. Or Rose Chapman.
I sure hope you're right. I told you I got my homerism out of the way before with my Yankees to the World Series and Cole picks, so I tried to shy away from Chapman. I went with, I think he very well could be the second best reliever in the AL behind Chapman. James Karinchak, Indians. He was filthy last year, only throws 2 pitches, but his curveball is disgusting.
Oh yeah, with the way he finished last year?
Well, I love the finish, but I mean, it was one game. No, I'm going Karinchak. I like him. He's got the stuff. Him and Devin Williams to watch that breakout last year was cool. So.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
I tried not to be too much of a homer.
Throwing over to the NL, I'm actually going to go in the NL East, and I'm going to go with Will. No, I'm not going with Will Smith. I'm going with Brad Hand here, a guy who Brad Hand's been a guy who has been undervalued by the Indians, obviously, and was let go for almost no reason, not traded, didn't get any assets back, signed a 1-year, $10 million deal with the Nationals. I think he's going to be filthy, always has been, and maybe he gets a little more recognition now that he's in a division that people actually care about. Sorry, AL Central. Like, I said this before the pod, there's not a moment of my life where I wake up and go, I wonder who's leading in the AL Central right now. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's the Royals or the Indians or the Twins, or there's not a moment in my life where I turn on AL Central Baseball and say, yes, this is what I wanted to watch. So now he's on a division that a majority of people care about. I think Brad Hand's going to get the national recognition he deserves as one of the best closers in baseball.
I like that pick. I had to go Josh Hader for obvious reasons. Dude is just so versatile. I think we are starting to shy away from the whoever leads the league in saves gets the reliever of the year award, because that's ridiculous. If that shift away from traditional stats is going to help anybody, it's going to help Hader. He's basically a younger prime Andrew Miller when he's on.
Yeah, I agree. Let's going to finish this out there. Let's just talk about more overall stuff here. Let's talk about some breakout candidates. Just a few per division. We'll start in the AL East here. That'll be the easiest. First guy I want to talk about here in the AL East, Bobby Dalbec. Is that how you pronounce it? Dalbec. Bobby Dalbec. That dude hits rockets. The Braves have played the Red Sox a lot during spring training, so I've seen a lot of highlight videos one way or another, and that dude just hits absolute piss missiles all over the place. Um, a guy that can slide in at first base. I believe he can play some of the corner outfields. He can give Devers a rest at third base from here to there. I think that dude's going to be really good this year for the Red Sox. I think they did find themselves a winner in that, and a guy who is actually going to give them even more offensive production they already have. It's obviously not the Red Sox problem is offense ever with a mixture of JT, Bogarts, and Devers. But a guy who can just keep on keeping on, I guess, is the best way I can put it. I think Dalbec's really good.
Yeah, no, I like that pick. He's been slamming the ball. My first guy breaking out, I went. It seems like an obvious pick, but I went with Vlad Jr. I think having that extra lineup protection, and I don't know if you've seen him, but he came into camp fit. He was not in shape last year. I think partly due to COVID, probably just took the pedal off the metal a little bit. He's got all the talent in the world. We know how hyped up he was. That wasn't for no reason. Coming into camp in shape, got a lot more lineup protection now with Bichette breaking out, Teoscar Hernandez turning into a legit stud, George Springer now at the top of the lineup. I think that's going to take a lot of pressure off of him to perform. I feel like he was pressing at times last year and in 2019. So I love Vlad Jr. to break out this year. They're moving him over to first too, so he's not going to really have to worry about defense too much. They'll learn in a new position, but it's first base. You don't play defense over there.
Scott Hatteberg learned first base according to Moneyball, and like seven ground balls he figured it out. Like maybe 8. It could have been 8 ground balls. He figured it out. No, I actually also had Vlad Jr. to piggyback off what you said. Vlad has always had a caboose, but last year he was carrying the entire train. He was enormous last year. There's no getting around that. He was wildly out of shape. This year he did come down 40 pounds. Supposedly is what the reports had said. He looks way skinnier. He looks like he's going to be in shape. He looks like he's actually going to last over 162. Hopefully he learns how to hit a lefty here shortly, but this is the season to do it for Vlad Jr. I'm sorry. Like at this point, you've been hyped up for 2 years, right? You had ridiculous amount of hype 2 years ago. You fell flat on your face. Last year, people were still drinking the Kool-Aid, didn't perform well. This year is your year. You got to do it, man. Either that, or I think we're scratching you up to what could have been. This is the year for Plaka to really get after it. So yeah, I had Vlad Jr. as well. To round us out here, I had my last one is actually Mountcastle. I already talked about him for Rookie of the Year, so I won't spend much time on him. Insane power, right-handed bat. Will play really well with Mancini. Will bat 4-hole for them every single AB as he should. So yeah, Mountcastle, my Rookie of the Year pick, is my third guy from the AL East.
I'll just hit my last two real quick. I had Tyler Glasnow. I've been kind of waiting on him to break out. I feel like he just hasn't quite gotten over the hump. He's got just disgusting stuff. I feel like if he can get the control under wraps just a little bit with that frame and his off-speed stuff, man, he's got all the potential in the world. And then Hunter Renfroe, elite defense, kind of boomer bust at the plate, but I really, really like, and we've talked about this a little bit in other sections, I really like his bat at Fenway. I think that boomer bust will play a little bit more to him. We saw how well JD Martinez did in his first couple of years in Boston. I like Renfroe a lot. I think he's got a chance to break out in Boston.
I agree. I love Renfroe. Good defense, big bat, can always happen. Swing us over to the Central here. Again, a desolate division of breakout stars. But I'm going to go ahead and get my first one out of the way. It's actually Luis Robert. I don't think he broke out last year. I think he had one good month. And then his back half was absolutely horrendous. He was batting close to 200. His power just completely disappeared. So are we going to see now? It was a 60-game stretch. So I think he's still got a lot in the tank. I don't think we're going to get a sophomore slump this year. And I think the guy's actually going to kind of figure it out. All in all, I think we saw the best of both worlds. We saw a guy who could hit 280 and hit 40 bombs. And then we saw a guy who can't hit water if he fell out of a boat if he tried. Obviously, that athleticism will keep him in center field and keep him in the league, but I am very worried about which Robert we could get going forward. So I think he could break out this year and be that guy.
Yeah, no, I like that pick a lot. For me, I went Jeimer Candelario. He kind of had a little bit of a breakout last year for Detroit, but again, 60-game season. At the end of the day, it was a good month and a half, 2 months. That's a third of a normal regular season. So pretty talented coming over from Chicago. I like him to continue that in the middle of Detroit's order. We've talked about how Detroit may be a little bit better than they seem on paper, and I think Candelario is a big piece of that. So he showed us a little bit in 2020. If he can continue that, I like him a lot.
Two things. One, story about Candelario. I went to a Norfolk Tides game with Mason. It was, I don't know, about 110 degrees outside, minimum. And we were out there. You know how it is on plastic seats in the sun. We had like dugout seats, right? Because it's Norfolk Tides. It costs like $10 to get right next to the field. And we watched a game go into the 11th inning, and I see this. I guess you can't see because my camera's on for the podcast, but I have like a red Evo Shield shirt on, and my skin color was like dark red by the end of that game because it went into extras and it was 0-0. One team was throwing a one hitter and the other team was throwing a two hitter. I watched Candelario and I figured he could do something because he had just been sent down to AAA. So I figured, major league stud. He wasn't performing, but I'm sure he'll rake the ball. He struck out 4 times that day. So sorry, PTSD just from sitting out there and watching just Pete Cosma and Candelario, and then the other side of the Norfolk Tides just absolutely crisped me on a day where I saw 3 base hits. I left. The game ended like 1-0 in like the 12th inning. I was like, bro, I'm leaving. Oh, it was awful. It was awful.
Can't blame me.
Second is I'm actually staying in Detroit with you. I think Willie Castro. He was a guy who last year started playing shortstop for them a little bit and started to put it together. And if there's one guy that can break out, it's in Detroit. It's one guy with the name Castro because I think they have 4 of them. But I decided to go with Willie. Huh?
I said, yeah, you're right. They have quite a number of Castros over there. They just need Juan and Miguel, and they'll have them all.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of Castros, but I think Willie's the guy. He's going to be their everyday shortstop over there, and he's a candidate to really break out after what looked like a little glimmer of hope in Detroit there at the shortstop position.
Good pick. I went with Andrew Benintendi for my second breakout guy in the Central.
I thought about it.
I still do not understand why Boston basically just dumped him for spare change with the potential he had coming up. And it's not like he's played bad. It's just been average. And I think the biggest thing for me is he fits Kansas City's style a lot more. He's scrappy. He's not going to wow you with the power, but he hits well. He's got a good feel for the bat. Kind of like Whit Merrifield from the left side to an extent. Just really all-around solid player. He's exactly what you would look for if you're looking for a guy that is borderline 5-tool but not flashy about it. And so I like Benintendi there. I think he's poised for a really good season.
I agree. He was he made my honorable mentions list, but my guy right now that I'm gonna finish out with has to be Josh Naylor, a guy last year who maybe you could argue broke out, but maybe didn't get as much recognition. So I expect him to continue that on. I don't think there was many candidates. So I ended up pinning down Josh Naylor, a guy who provided a much needed power stroke in that lineup. So I expect Josh Naylor to kind of continue on his breakout from what he had in 2020.
Dude, Naylor's a beast. He's a stud. I like him a lot. My third, I went with Brady Singer, staying in Kansas City. He showed a little bit at the beginning of last year. And he shortened seasons, I think, for pitchers aren't as much of a caveat as they are for hitters, because hitters kind of go through slumps. Pitchers, I think, if you see that flash, it means a lot more to see them put it together for a couple games than it does for a hitter, I think. And Singer did that. He's got the pedigree. Their rotation's really wide open. They're looking for an ace after having James Shields, Zach Greinke, Johnny Cueto in there for a few years. He's got some good pitches too. He throws a nice sinker.
No, I love Brady Singer. I think he's good. I think he's gonna be legit.
I think he'll end up having a similar season to Ian Anderson, just not talked about at all because he plays for Kansas City.
Bingo. That's what I like to call the AL Central effect. It's almost as bad as the NL Central effect. Almost as bad, but not nearly.
AL Central effect and the I play for a dog meat team effect.
Yes.
The combination of those two leads you into relative anonymity pretty quickly.
Yes, they do. Let's finish out the AL here. Frankly, I could probably just stick in LA and name 3 guys off the roster, but I'm not going to. So I'm just gonna name 2. And I'll make it quick. I'll bang bang, bang bang. You ready for it? Ready for it? Joe Adell, Shohei Ohtani. Um, 2 easy picks for me. Joe Adell last year couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. Couldn't hit himself out of a wet paper bag. He couldn't hit a ball off the tee. It was really bad. He could not hit. Athleticism, he's going to keep him out there, obviously, for his defense. Joe Adell, very highly touted prospect. Angels fans make him, Brandon Marsh, and Mike Trout act like you're putting Willie Mays, Ted Williams, and King Griffey Jr. in the outfield together. At least that's the way they talk on any social media site about him. So maybe I want to see it from Joe Adell. And Shohei Ohtani, this is the year. I want to see it one way or another. Whether it's pitching, whether it's hitting, whether it's both. This is the year. We've all seen flashes. He hasn't broken out. Don't start with that. He has not broken out yet. He can't put it together for longer than 30 to 45 games without going down with some kind of injury. I want to see it this year. Similar to kind of how Vlad Jr. is. We've all heard about the hype. You've shown us flashes. We've seen it. It's time to put it together. I understand. You throw 102. You hit nukes. We see it in spring training right now. Like every other day, I'm seeing a video of Shohei Ohtani either throwing 102 and striking a guy out or hitting a nuke out of right field. That's great. That's fantastic. These games don't matter. I want to see it when it matters, and I want to see it over 162. This is the year for Ohtani to do it. I can see it happening unless Joe Madden screws it up, which I guarantee he will.
I'll buy that. I not as big on Adele. I think he kind of profiles more to me as a Byron Buxton. That he's just going to strike out a lot and not hit that well without the elite defense that Buxton has. I don't think we've seen the best from Shohei Ohtani at all. He's still got so much more to do, so much more to grow. But I'm going to actually stick twice in Seattle and go Justice Sheffield. Maybe a little bit of Yankees bias there. Not really.
A little bit.
He's gone. No, I mean he's always had the potential. I just don't think he's really gotten a shot. I mean, he was in Cleveland, got dumped by Cleveland, got dumped by New York. He's finally been able to settle in. I'm a big fan of young pitchers. I like Sheffield a lot, and J.P. Crawford too. Another guy that if he breaks out, he would be a very late bloomer. But he's going to have an opportunity in Seattle. I think they're going to let him run his cleats into the mud, basically. He doesn't really have any competition behind him for the shortstop job. I think finally he's not really going to have to look over his shoulder. Not a ton of exciting guys in the AL West for me, but Crawford's a guy I could see having a decent season.
Do you remember when J.P. Crawford was like 4th on the top 100 prospects and Corey Seager was 1st? That was egregious. Whoever put that together needs to be fired immediately. Like, that was one of the worst prospect lists I've ever seen. You had J.P. Crawford as the fourth. Anyway, sorry, I had to get that. J.P. Crawford, jeez, man, jeez. No, but I do like the picks. They're 2 guys that have to break out for Seattle to perform well this year. And my last guy is actually going to be in Seattle. I went with Evan White, rookie. I think he can make an immediate impact in the major league level. So maybe I'm not waiting for him to break out or something, or he's going to suddenly have a breakout season. I think Evan White's a guy who can make an immediate impact on both sides of the ball. Again, defense doesn't matter nearly as much as first, unless you're spectacular over there, which he is. And then they need a middle of the order bat to help Kyle Lewis over there. And I think he's a guy who can make an immediate impact at the major league level.
Yeah, no, I like him. Fun fact about Evan White, I can't even name another player that's like this. I'm sure I could have thought long enough about it. He throws left-handed, but he bats right-handed.
Yeah, parents, if you're listening to this, if you ever do that to your child, give it up. Don't have another. You failed.
Take that bat, flip the hands, and drag him to the other side of the plate.
Yeah, do you want your kid to have to go backside or just pull the ball all the time and it be acceptable? Because I was right-handed. I pulled the ball all the time and it wasn't acceptable. But I never once saw a lefty I ever played with try to go backside. I never saw a lefty ever try to go backside. Yeah, good job. Good job. I pull one ball that's like middle, like outer third, and I'm running wind sprints for it. Anyways, I had to get that one off the chest. That's just some deep-rooted hatred for not being left-handed hitter. That is some deep-rooted hatred. But anyways, hit me with your third.
Yeah. I got Willie Calhoun. I like him a lot. He reminds me a little bit of Gallo. Just for his size, he can piss on the ball. My goodness.
You know what else he can do? That man is nasty at Call of Duty.
Really? I didn't know that.
He's on the competitive GB servers and he plays with pros. Like
That's
pro,
sweet.
like Call of Duty League. Like
that's awesome. All the more reason.
He streams it all the time. He's played with Call of Duty pros. He plays like competitive lobbies, like 3v3 S&Ds, 4v4s all the time. Like he's nasty on the sticks. Anyway, it's just fun fact.
Sweet. Maybe he can carry that success over to 2021. We'll see.
Maybe on the sticks, not on the diamond. Maybe on the sticks. Let's flip it over to the NL, and we'll start exactly where we started in the AL. Let's start in the East. Let me just go ahead and get my homer bias out of the way. I think it's going to be Brycey Wilson, a guy who I have just ragged on for 2 years on Twitter. I mean, ragged.
That's really surprising.
I hate Brycey Wilson. I think he has no game. I think he sucks. But if there's one, but here's the thing. Here's the tiny itsy little thing. He did have it for that one game in the playoffs and gave me just a sip of the Kool-Aid. Maybe I'm drinking a little more. Maybe the cup of Kyle Wright Kool-Aid that I had got dumped out for a little bit of Brycey Wilson Kool-Aid. Was that because Kyle Wright just took a mean dookie in the playoffs? Yes. Is that because Brycey Wilson just pitched his nutsack off in the playoffs? Yes. So that Kool-Aid was exchanged. Big Brycey Wilson, guys. He just has a velo pouch. Have you seen his stomach? That man has never drank a light beer in his life. That man is IPA gang only. That man is going to be filthy this year. And he's my breakout boy from the Braves.
So, first thoughts, I think someone may have drugged your Kool-Aid because I don't think I would have ever heard that statement out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I've heard Bryce Wilson hate for the last 2.5 years.
Now,
but
hold on. Before you continue on, I just want to say this. Yeah. If the Bulls trade for Lonzo, we're going to have the same kind of predicament here because I'm going to have to go just delete my entire Twitter account. You and me both. But anyway,
you and me both.
Anyway, back to Major League Baseball.
I'm staying in Atlanta, but out in center field on the plate, Christian Pache. I know you don't like.
I was hoping you'd go Inciarte.
How can you break out when you're already a perennial MVP candidate? I don't know how much higher.
Have you ever seen that man hit a? I've never seen more perfectly placed ground balls to the second baseman every at bat. Every single at bat.
I was actually excited because I liked Inciarte. Like, hey, this dude's pretty good. Jeez.
That man hits the best fungos to the opposing second baseman. Luis Garcia for the Nationals. If Inciarte starts, he's gonna get 4 ground balls. Just chalk it up.
Make Luis Garcia look like a Gold Glover.
Absolutely.
Anyways, Christian Pache to break out in the NL East. He can hit a little bit. His defense is off the charts.
Oh yeah, you see the he threw a guy out throwing 92, just like casual 92 all the way to third base. Casual. I'm gonna stick in center field with you though. I'm actually gonna go, and I swear I said this guy last year. I'm gonna go Victor Robles. Very similar to Vlad Jr., a guy who got talked about a lot for the last couple of years. Defense is outstanding. Hitting hasn't come along. This is the year he needs to do it. A lot of my breakout picks are either guys I think are going to break out or guys that need to break out. I think Robles has all the tools in the bag to do it. He just needs to do
it. No, he's basically, I think, Pache will be in 2 years if he ends up hitting like he's kind of projected to hit or a little bit worse.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't bad. I mean, Robles is serviceable, but it just leaves you wanting more because if he could hit a lick, he'd be filthy.
Yep.
Anyway, like we've seen with Buxton and flashes where he gets hot, and he's one of the better players in baseball and just so much fun to watch, but then all of a sudden he'll just slump and you're like, where'd it go?
Yeah, the wheels fall off.
I like that pick. I went with and he's kind of broke out already, but I've always liked him. Sandy Alcantara. Um, I think just that whole Marlins team had a breakout last year. He pitched well, but I think Pablo Lopez and Sixto Sanchez kind of broke out more and overshadowed Alcantara a little bit. I think he's got the stuff. He's shown it in flashes. I think 2021 is the year he puts it all together.
Yeah, it's good.
Really solidifies himself as the kind of ace of the future for the Marlins.
Nah, that's a good pick. I do like him. He's good. I've seen him pitch against the Braves a couple times. He's got some filthy stuff. Have you ever seen the Bee movie?
Yes.
You like Jazz?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with Jazz Chisholm. I think he's gonna be good. I think he's gonna be good. Lefty buttery swing, just buttery smooth. It's like it's like Waffle House at like 3 a.m. when you've had just one too many. It's just buttery smooth down the throat. That's how his swing is. I think he's a guy who can just come in and be a shortstop that can provide a little bit of pop. He can slide to second base if he needs to. Just depending on kind of where they're at with Miguel Rojas. I know that's their like fanboy love. I don't think John Birdie is exactly going to push him for that second base spot. Neither is Isan Diaz. A guy who can do it all on the diamond and easily be a 30 home run candidate if he gets hot.
No, I will admit I have not seen much of Jazz Chisholm in the way of an actual dirt and grass diamond, but I do know his future stars card is disgusting. So I will take your word for it.
Yes, do it.
My last breakout candidate, this was kind of a default because honestly, other than a few guys who I figured you would probably touch on, there really weren't many guys that jumped out to me in the NL Center. You and I were talking before the pod that it's just a very established division. There's a lot of good veteran talent in there. I mean, I feel like everybody on the Mets team has kind of either hit their ceiling or really isn't what you would call a breakout candidate. They're very much a veteran heavy team. The Braves as well, kind of, I mean, unless you want to go like Dansby jumping into the top 10 shortstop conversation or something, or like a really young guy like Pache, who we already touched on. I just didn't see a ton of guys. So Carter Kieboom. I mean, I think he's got the tools. Replacing Anthony Rendon last year was some pretty big shoes for him to fill. I think some of that might be knocked away now where the Nats don't have this World Series hangover expectations anymore. So I think that'll work in Kieboom's favor to kind of fly under the radar and put together some good stretches.
I agree. No, I agree. One last guy I did want to touch on in this division. I think Alec Boehm, if he can continue on what he did last year, is going to be really good again this year. The Phillies are a desolate wasteland of no promise. I'll touch on that one later. If you're looking at this agenda, you can just take a wild guess of which one I'm going to touch on them later on. But Alec Boehm, he's, I guess, a bright spot for the Phillies. Let's move into the second division I could care less about, the NL Central. Boy, there was absolutely zero exciting people in this division for me. Like zero, none, zip, nada. No one just sparked my interest in this division. So my first one's actually going to be from the Reds. I'm going to go with Amir Garrett here. He's fighting for that closer role from Doolittle. He wants it. And he's a guy that in the last 2 years we have seen take that jump from an up-down guy, a guy who comes up and when a guy's hurt and then goes right on back down when he's healthy. Into last year where he was an established setup guy for the Reds. And I think this year he can establish himself as a closer for the Reds and kind of be an anchor there in the ninth inning for him.
No, I like that pick a lot. Big Amir Garrett fan. He just has a ton of passion for the game, which I love. But for me, his breakout candidate in the NL Central was Nico Herner. I like him a lot. Plays hard. Reminds me of what Merrifield a little bit. The fact that does everything pretty well, but nothing jumps out at you. He can play all over the diamond. He'll get the job done. I think he can kind of fly under the radar and put together some good ABs for Chicago when you're going to have guys like Rizzo, Baez, Bryant in the lineup. Happ broke out last year. Veteran guys like Hayward, I think will give Herner a lot of lineup protection. The only problem I really see with him is that if he struggles, they're going to pull the hook quick. I don't think he's going to have a long leash as far as if he's out of the gate. They're going to rotate guys in. They're not going to get a ton of playing time. But I like the potential here for Nico Herner for 2021.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the dead horse here. I also have Nico on my list. For all the reasons you said, versatile guy, can hit a little bit fast, can put it all together, can be a pretty productive major league player, and I think this is the year for him to do it. I'm not going to beat a dead horse.
Yeah, and my second guy, I talked about him a little bit already, so not going to touch too much. But obviously, if I'm taking him for Rookie of the Year, I got to have him on my breakout list. Brian Hayes. I just, if he can hit, I love the glove. The glove is beyond elite.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough there. If you took him for Rookie of the Year, same with me. How I'd take Mountcastle there. Guy I wanted to touch on actually here is Corbin Burns from the Brewers, a guy who had a few really good starts down the stretch last year for him, and on a team that they need help in the starting rotation outside of Braden Woodruff, they really have no one. I think this is the year that Corbin Burns becomes more of a household name than he isn't right now, unless you're a pretty big Major League fan. You don't know who Corbin Burns really is, or unless you didn't play a little bit of MLB The Show last year. You really don't know who he is. I think he's a guy who can really take that next step forward into being an established major league starter rather than a spot guy or the end of the back rotation guy. Again, I felt like the NL Central was pretty empty of candidates here.
Yeah, and that rings true because take a wild guess at who my third guy was. Corbin Burns.
Yes.
So, pretty well. You summed up just about everything I was thinking when I put him down.
Nice.
A lot. Great stuff. If you couldn't tell, I'm a huge fan of young pitchers with good stuff, as I think most people are.
Yeah, all right. You're just a pitching just slut. Get over it. Let's go to this last division here. A division that I thought I was going to struggle in, but I actually found three guys really quick. And we're going to start with just the Battle Royale god himself, Carson Kelly, behind the plate for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Again, a guy that I slot into this kind of Vlad Jr. spot. That's what I'm going to call it. A guy who went over there for the Paul Goldschmidt trade, was kind of the key prospect, was a guy who's supposed to play Yachty, and they traded him away for Goldschmidt because Yachty, I guess, isn't ever going to retire, and he's going to piss me off until the world ends. And he's gone over there and kind of fallen flat the last 2 years. He's shown flashes of what he could do, which is a guy behind the plate who can hit 30 home runs and play, pretty league average defense, which in today's terms, catching wise, that is like top five. That is legit top five catching. If you can play average defense and hit 30 nukes a year. And this is the year for him to prove it. This is the year he needs to do it. Similar to Robles, similar to Vlad Jr., similar to Ohtani. This is the year that he needs to take that next step forward and become their everyday starting catcher and hit 20, 25, 30 home runs this year.
Yeah, good pick. I had a feeling you would go with the DR good.
What a surprise.
I like Brendan Rodgers a lot in the NL.
That is the OG Vlad Jr. guy who needs to figure it out. But we have been talking about Brendan Rodgers since we were in high school.
You want to talk about guys, not that who we think will necessarily break out, but guys who need to break out. Brendan Rodgers, man, the pedigree. I think he was drafted right behind Alex Bregman, actually.
Yes, it went Swanson, Bregman, Rodgers.
The third pick. Oh man, can you imagine if the Rockies had taken Bregman or gotten a chance to take Bregman, or had the Astros taken Rodgers? I mean, it didn't quite make sense with the Astros window at the time, but man.
I mean, knowing the Rockies, Rodgers would be pretty good, and Bregman would be getting traded to, I don't know, anywhere now.
That is fair. That is very fair. No, I mean, anytime you play in cores, it's gonna be conducive to a breakout. I feel like we know how it appeals to hitters. They're not going to contend. Not even close. They've already pulled the plug on Arenado. He's going to get his chance, that's for sure. It's definitely a year for him. I think maybe that pressure will push him to perform a little bit, but he'll have his opportunity, that's for sure. Which, I mean, in his defense, I don't think, not that he's necessarily warranted one, but he hasn't really gotten a full opportunity.
That is true. I'm actually going to stick on the diamond here for Colorado. Ryan McMahon, and this may kind of be coming out of left field, but actually, I hate the word slept on, because no one is slept on in today's age of social media and stats. But his peripherals are really good, and for being a hitter in Coors, usually those peripherals turn into pluses as you get the opportunity to play more and more. And again, with Arenado being gone, McMahon's going to get his shot, whether that be at first base, third base, second base. He can play literally anywhere. He's going to get that shot in the middle of the order. And I think this is the year that I don't know, I think he could go for 30 home runs. I think he could bat 260, 265, which is a plus year. I think he can be a pretty good hitter for Colorado, and maybe between him and Rogers lessen the hurt of getting rid of Arenado a little bit. Maybe, probably not, but like I think between those two guys here, you slow them in the middle infield instead of Garrett Hampson for once. We could stop holding on to that dream, Colorado Rockies. Please, Garrett Hampson is not a good player. Please play Brendan Rodgers and Ryan McMahon, and they can really do something.
No, again, anytime a guy's in Colorado, he's liable to break out. But going with a guy who I feel like is another one of those lineup protection will be conducive to breakouts. But I like Trent Grisham a lot. A nice swing from the left side. I think Tommy Pham actually being back healthy at the top of their order will help a lot more than people are going to realize. I know we've talked about the Padres. I know you've talked about your feelings on the Padres, but I like Trent Grisham a lot. I think to the casual fan, 2019 wild card game where he misplayed that ball in right field is still in the back of their heads. But I want to talk about all the regression for the Padres, how well they played last year. I think Grisham's a guy that can kind of build on the 2020 success and keep that going because I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet.
Yeah, for as much as I talk about the Padres and what I think, how hard I really do think they're going to regress, Grisham's that guy last year who took that step forward in his career and then randomly popped back out of nowhere, such as Myers and Hosmer and everyone else on that roster, that just randomly got really good again. Grisham, obviously, that step was kind of like in plan. It made sense for him to take that next step forward. So I'm all in with you on Trent Grisham. I couldn't agree more. My last guy, I'm actually going to go back behind the dish. With Buster Posey moving to way more of a role at first base and Brandon Belt moving to more of a corner role, Joey Bart's going to get his opportunities behind the plate. A guy who stroked the crap out of the ball at Georgia Tech. A guy who's been a highly touted catching prospect. It's between him and Rushman for the last couple years behind the dish. And I think this year is the year for Buster to finally accept that his knees and his legs can't take it anymore. He needs to move to first base, and there's a guy back there that can actually not make him maybe cringe of why he's at first base, because I know Buster probably does that. He's like, I should be back there when a guy misses a ball, and I feel like Joey Bart's the guy you could stick back there and he can accept for the fact that it's time to move to that kind of next part of his career. And I really do think Bart can be a 30 doubles 20 home run kind of guy in AT&T Park. I know how hard it is to hit for power, but that dude just he strokes.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. It'd be interesting to see if Rutschman gets any PT in Baltimore this year with them not being competitive at all. Kind of same with the Giants, but I like Bart a lot. I was torn on this last one. I wanted to go Luke Weaver. I had actually written him down, and the more I think about it, it's almost by default. I mean, he's good. He can be good. Doesn't really excite me that much. So I'm going Gavin Lux. But the ceiling is absolutely there. Unfortunately, he's been kind of bottled up. Guys like Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez being able to really just snatch playing time, a veteran presence. I think Lux will get his opportunity this year in a full season. I think he'll make the most of it. He, as stacked as that team is, he won't have any expectations as to play, how good to play, anything. The talent's there. He's going to be a stud. I like him to break out this year.
Yeah, that's fair. We both thought he was going to break out last year, and he just kind of never found that opportunity. With as good as the guys that were between Kike, Muncy, and Taylor playing second base, you're really not going to find much of a squeeze in there.
And that's the thing for me. Both of us were super high on him last year, and what really changed? I mean, he didn't play all that great last year, but he also did not get opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Now Kike's gone.
There were no minor leagues to really help him work out any kinks. I mean, he's still, 22?
Mm-hmm.
23? Kike's gone. That'll open the door some. Nothing's really changed for me last year. I'm still super big on Lux.
Yep, I agree. So yeah, that's gonna wrap us up on some of these breakout guys. Just going into the kind of the back half of the pod, let's talk about 3 overrated teams here. Look, usually I try to stay away from this overrated stuff, and I try not to harp on this stuff, but we have to throw it in there. It's kind of a thing everyone has to talk about. I want to talk about my most overrated team and it has been for the last couple years here. And I kind of mentioned them earlier, and I'm going to explain why. The Phillies are a desolate wasteland, and I need to stop seeing them in the second place spot of predictions. I wish you could understand how sick and tired I am of no matter how well the Braves do, no matter how good the lineup looks, the Phillies are somehow projected over them again for the third year in a row. Like, man, look, I get it. I get it. Bryce Harper, I get it. Aaron Nola, I get it. I don't get anything past that. Are we really hanging our hat on Zach Wheeler, who can't stay healthy for 30 starts? And even if he is, he's not an elite pitcher. He's a good pitcher. He's not an elite pitcher. He's not a guy I'm going to send out on the bump and just expect 6 innings, 2 runs, 8 Ks. You can't expect that from Zach Wheeler. He's never done it consistently his entire career. And who are we hanging our hat with in the lineup outside of Harper? Rhys Hoskins, he's going to watch 8 strikes go down the middle of the plate. He's never going to swing the bat. Like, you could watch an entire Phillies season or entire Phillies like series, like watch 3 games, Rhys Hoskins will swing the bat 4 times in 3 games. JT Realmuto, good hitter for his position. If JT Realmuto is my second best hitter on my team, I'm not exactly ecstatic, especially when I'm in a division where there's guys like Juan Soto and Trey Turner. There's guys like Ronald Acuna and Freddie Freeman. There's guys now like Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor and Michael Conforto. Like, those are legit 1-2-1-2-3 punches out of teams. If you're telling me it goes Harper and JT Realmuto, I am not afraid of that. Not a single bit of me quakes. At all. Didi Gregorius, way past his prime. Gene Segura, way past his prime. Rhys Hoskins at first, already been over it. Alec Boehm at third base, I'll give you that much. He's got some promise. Andrew McCutchen at left, way past his prime. Roman Quinn and Adam Hazley are not good Major League Baseball players. Don't even try to sell me on it. Gabe has tried to sell me that Adam Hazley and Roman Quinn are some kind of decent baseball players. They're not. They're just fast. And Bryce Harper and Wright is great. Don't get me wrong. Aaron Nola, solid. Zach Wheeler, overrated. Zach Eflin, stop. Vince Velasquez, stop. They don't really even have Spencer Howard. Maybe he's like a rookie this year. We'll see what he's got. Hector Neris in the pen, like, give me a break. Their pen's been one of the worst in the league for the last 5 years. Yet you're still, every projection, every mock, whatever, is still throwing them second above the Nationals too in the division is egregious. The Phillies are by far the most overrated team in Major League Baseball.
Oh, I hope you all enjoyed that rant because I
did.
certainly did, and
I
you
did.
made my job a heck of a lot easier because we are on the same page, and I also had the Phillies at number 1 for my most overrated teams. I don't think there's a single thing I could add to that.
Nice, good. Hope we all cleared that up.
You literally covered all of it.
Mr. Simmons, if you're listening, you're welcome. Don't text me about it. Good heavens. Let me hear your number 2.
Okay. This overrated teams for me are a little bit difficult because I feel like for the most part teams are accurately trade. Yeah. For me, it had to be Tampa. Like I said, not a ton to choose from. There really, in my mind, there aren't a ton of massively overrated teams, but I've got them finishing third in the AL East and for decent reason. I just, every year they seem to outperform the team on paper, but that trend cannot continue. They lost a lot in the pitching staff department. The lineup, I don't know if I buy it over 162 games.
I agree.
They lack consistency, not much lineup protection. I mean, yeah, Rosarena, but does anyone expect him to really continue that?
It's literally just Brandon Lau is the only big.
Brandon Lau and Austin Meadows, and that's it. Kiermaier can't hit. Thomas is decent, but not great. You've got a black hole in offense with Mike Zunino.
I agree.
Do not see it offensively. You in your rotation, you've got Ryan Yarbrough as your number 1, Glassmount probably, but he's number 1 right now. He's a 3 with upside. Chris Archer, the ghost of Rich Hill. The bullpen is legit. I'll give him that. But if your bullpen is by far your best strength, that's not great.
I agree. I actually typed him down twice.
if it weren't for Boston's abysmal pitching staff, it would not surprise. And really, honestly, even given that, it would not surprise me if Boston finishes ahead of Tampa.
I'm gonna
I
go
don't think
ahead.
Tampa better than third.
Yeah, I agree. I actually typed Tampa twice down on my list. I decided to go elsewhere. One of the places I did go was their cheap brethren over in California, the Oakland Athletics, for the same reason that you just said. It's a team on paper that just doesn't make sense why they ever win, right? Their pitching staff is routinely a bunch of piecemealed guys who are either way past their primes or guys who just you don't expect much from. Like I like Chris Bassett, he's good. I'm not expecting Chris Bassett to become kind of ace, and somehow he is. Sean Manaea, same kind of way. Then you add guys like Mike Fiers who have like career revivals over there. I don't know how long it can happen. They keep pulling relievers out of nowhere who are these 2 inning guys like Blake Trinan and Liam Hendricks now. Like, who's it going to be this year? Lou Trevino or someone? I do like Jesus Luzardo. I do like Matt Chapman. I do like Matt Olson. Don't try to sell me as their kind of, like playoff contender. I'll give them a wild card spot at best here. But the way the Oakland Athletics are talked about sometimes is just a little too much for me. I'm not behind the offense outside of those couple guys I just named. And then the pitching staff outside of Jesus Luzardo, I'm really not sold on at all. It's basically for the same thing, everything you said about the Rays, just the West Coast version.
Yeah. No, I see. I like the A's a bit more than the Rays, though. Especially in the lineup, having a guy like Olson and Chapman and Laureano in the middle of the lineup, I think really they've got two guys in the lineup that are worlds better than anybody in the lineup for Tampa, which is huge in my opinion.
That's fair.
That helps them a lot. The rotations are similar. The bullpens, Oakland's isn't as good, but it's serviceable. My third most overrated team, honestly, is the Angels. I just really cannot see it. Justin Upton is a ghost. Pujols will be not only a non-factor but a negative, which isn't really his fault. He shouldn't be playing anymore. You've got Rendon and Trout, but outside of that, let's be honest, they suck. They just suck.
Yeah.
There's the problem for me with the Angels isn't that they'll be horrible. They'll go 500 at least. I don't see them really going under 500. They'll beat up on Texas. They'll beat up on Seattle. They'll be decent. Problem for me with LA is that there's really no upside. No upside with Upton. There's only downside. There's upside with Adele, but I think even you being fairly high on him, you can agree there are plenty of scenarios where he does not hit it all this season.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Iron Buxton without the defense. Iglesias, good defensively, but offensively, he's a downgrade.
I would say it's a direct downgrade from Andrelton Simmons.
Direct downgrade from Simmons, worse in every department. Fletcher's good, but will he sustain that? He's not exactly a staple. Walsh is a complete wild card. They've got Max Stassi behind the plate. I don't know if I buy that. No bent. They traded for Dexter Fowler. Ohtani, as good as he is still a question mark. You just don't know with the health. If they try to pitch him and he pops something again, he's done. Mm-hmm. It's not great. The rotation, your 1-2 is your 1-2-3 is Heaney, Quintana, and Bundy. There's no upside there, really. I can't see it with the Angels. They're not going to be horrible. They have a floor because they don't have terrible guys. I mean, they have a decent team. There's just no upside. It's kind of like the Giants. Like, got some veteran guys. They won't be horrible. They'll win some games, but I just don't see them making the playoffs. There's no upside.
That's fair.
Trout going to have otherworldly seasons for them to. Literally, everyone's going to have to outperform expectations.
That's fair. I actually picked a team that's very similar in a kind of situation that's actually in the NL. I'm actually going with the Milwaukee Brewers. And you're going to have to hear me out here. I see a lot of Milwaukee Brewers talk as the best team in the Central, as a team that's supposed to take this division fairly easy. Who moves the needle on that offense for you outside of Christian Yelich? Like Keaston Hira, like maybe Colton Wong isn't a good offensive player. Manny Pena and Omar Narvaez don't move the needle. There's like no one. It's literally Christian Yelich. It's in a very similar situation with Trout, except maybe there's a little upside with Hira, but it's kind of in the same situation with Ohtani. Like they both have a lot of upside here. Outside of that, there's not a lot of offense. And then we go to the pitching staff. Brandon Woodruff's your number one. What? And then you have
he's actually good.
Yeah.
Now I will.
Yeah.
Burns you can give a question mark. Woodruff's pretty decent. He's not a number one, but
Thank you.
I guess is the point. He's a solid 2. He's not a 1.
Thank you. He's a solid 2, borderline 3. Corbin Burns.
He's a solid 2.
Corbin Burns isn't that is needs to continue on. You can't name anyone past there unless you're an avid Major League Baseball fan. You couldn't name Corbin Burns unless you were an avid Major League Baseball fan. Brett Anderson, Josh Lindbaum, like who are we really expecting here? Yeah, their pin's good. They have Devin Williams, Josh Hader, Brent Suter. Yeah, their pin's good. Your pin doesn't make a difference if you can't score runs. And outside of Christian Yelich, his team doesn't do it for me. Like if you were to tell me to select between the Cubs or the Brewers in a 7-game series, I'm probably taking the Cubs strictly off the upside of Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javier Baez, Wilson Contreras. Like all things aside, I'm taking the Cubs just purely based off upside. Maybe over 162 it doesn't work out, but over a 7-game series, I'm taking the Cubs. I don't think there's any situation here where the Cubs don't stack up as the better team here. Yet I see so many posts and so many articles and so many clips and so many podcasts that are just shooing in the Brewers to win this division like it's the easiest thing known to man. And I just can't buy in on a team where I can only get behind one offensive guy and one major league starter.
Oh, hear me out here. I think with Jason Hayward's resurgence and outside of Nico Herner, I think you could make the argument that everybody in the Cubs lineup is better offensively than the Brewers, whoever turns out to be their second best hitter behind Yelich.
Yes. If you let's hypothetically take Yelich.
Maybe Hayward, but if that's even a conversation that Jason Hayward might be better offensively than your second best hitter, that's not good.
Yeah, take Javier Baez and Christian Yelich out of this discussion because of their team's best respective hitters. And down the board, I think every single player for the Cubs is better offensively.
It's not even close.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then I honestly think the pitching staffs are pretty comparable. Again, the Cubs were my team for the division this year. I've never been high on the Cubs. You can listen to past podcasts. I've never once been high on the Cubs. But by far they're my pick for this year division, and I don't know why the Brewers are getting so much love. Maybe it'll come to light this season. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe this will, the freezing cold take. I don't know. Maybe this will be brought up in a few months when the Brewers are 60-30 and running away with the division. But for the time being, I just can't buy the Brewers at all.
No, I like that pick.
Are
we hitting under?
Yeah. Start off underrated here.
So again, I have a little bit of a hard time finding truly underrated, overrated teams, but you know how high I am on them. So I kind of went Toronto, not the fact that they're really underrated per se, because I think really it's between them and Tampa for the 2 in the AL East, although I'm just giving my thoughts on that. I just love the upside in Toronto. I think their staff is good. Ryu is one of the most underrated. He was actually my number 1 for most underrated players before we switched the agenda up.
I agree. I love Ryu.
Got the upside. Robbie Ray's legit. The stuff is there. Only problem with him is walks. Not super excited about the back end of the rotation, but I think they could make some moves to shore that up. Bullpen's decent. Now, Kirby Yates going down hurts a lot, but the lineup is off the charts, honestly.
Yeah.
Love the lineup.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, again, as you kind of touched on, it's hard to find over and underrated teams with the way kind of everything's so broken down nowadays. With that said, I'm actually going to go to San Francisco here. I think San Francisco is a team full of veterans with also young guys who have potential, such as Bard and Dubon, and there's a couple other guys in that lineup who show a little bit of promise. But then you add on, look, man, this is overlooked in today's baseball because of analytics and because of number schemes. But the fact is, when it's August and you're in game 107 and you're tired and you're dead, and all these young guys have slowed down during the dog days of August, when you have guys like Buster Posey, Brandon Belt, Evan Longoria, Johnny Cueto, guys who have been there, done that for a decade now, they're going to be healthy. They're going to be fresh. They're going to be ready to go. They're going to know how to win a ball game on a Tuesday night at 7:05 when it's 94 outside with 100% humidity. They're going to know how to pace themselves through that ball game to win a 3-2 boring ball game. And I think that team is a great combination of veterans and young guys to be able to actually make an impact this year and play way above what they're kind of set at right now. I just love their mix of vets and mix of young guys right now in the way that team's kind of tooled themselves together to still be competitive during a rebuild.
Oh, no, solid pick for sure. My other underrated team, I guess second underrated team, kind of coinciding with me overrating the Phillies, is the Nationals.
Yes, yes,
I wasn't huge on their lineup at first, but the more I look at it, the more it doesn't bother me as much. Turner and Soto are as legit as they come. Great 1-2 combo. I think Josh Bell can be decent for them. Yan Gomes is one of the better catchers in baseball. Um, Luis Garcia and Keebloom were wild cards. We know we like Robles. The rotation's good. The rotation's going to be really good. I think the bullpen's underrated. People are kind of writing the Nationals off. I don't expect it, but I think they could finish second.
yes, yes. I pinned him at second. You remember having this discussion? I pinned him at second. They're my team again. Bunch of vets, a bunch of young guys. I love the mix. I think
They're playoff tested. A lot of
playoff
them.
tested, been there, done that. They're gonna know how to play in August and September when things get tough and gritty.
Even one of the guys they brought in, or two of the guys they brought in actually, Lester and Schwarber, they weren't there for the 2019 run, but they were there for a couple Cubs postseason runs.
They were yeah, absolutely. John Lester is plenty playoff tested, and Kyle Schwarber was obviously there for the 2016 run with the Cubs. This team could do it. I do like the Nationals. They didn't make my list, but I do like the Nationals. Um, Another NL East team to make my list is actually the Miami Marlins for the exact same reasons that I said the San Francisco Giants. I love I'm going to stress this all season. When this comes up in July and we're like, hey, the Giants have won the last 8 out of their 10, or the Marlins just took 2 from the Braves and the Nationals and the Mets. We're talking about how a group of guys like Brian Anderson, Jesus Aguilar, Garrett Cooper, mixed with guys like Sandy Alcantara, Jazz Chisholm, um, are finding ways to win games. Like this team was in the playoffs last year for a reason. Like I joked about at the beginning of the podcast that over 60 games, a team like the Miami Marlins can make the playoffs, but there's still 60 games 4 times over the Major League season this year. So they can get hot for those 60 games at any point and be that exact same team. Whether that's at the beginning, the middle, or the end, that can happen again. And I think the Miami Marlins they don't have any shot at winning the division, similar to the Giants, but they have a shot of making an impact on how the playoffs and how the division actually shapes up when maybe a team like the Mets, Braves, Phillies, or Nationals can only go 500 against this team rather than just beat the doors off of them like they have the last few years.
No, I like that a lot. It's really been crazy to see how many people have just kind of written the Marlins off as finishing fifth in that division. Don't have a chance. I know it's a tough division, but did they not show you anything in 2020? They're nobody's pick in the division by any means, but to just for everybody to just pencil them in the fifth spot just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I agree with you. I think they've got a lot of upside.
Yep.
And my last underrated team for me was the Giants. I talked about it a little bit earlier. Just that veteran presence in the lineup. They're not, again, kind of like the Angels. They're not going to value. They don't have a ton of upside, but they've got a floor. I mean, all of these guys are pros. They're not bad by any means. Posey, Bart, Bell. Lano was decent last year. You know what you're getting out of Listella and Crawford. Alex Dickerson's decent. Yastrzemski's been great. I love the Alex Wood pickup. I'm super big on him. Not that they're going to be great, and I don't expect them to make the playoffs at all. I don't really expect them to be in contention, but I don't think they're going to be a bottom dweller like we kind of wrote them off to be last year and going into this year.
I agree. I went off on it for a good 2 minutes there. I completely agree. And this may be me beating a dead horse here, but the Kansas City Royals are my third team. For the same reason, you have guys, you have Salvi, you have Whit Merrifield, you have Hunter Dozier, you have Mondesi, you have you have a good mix. You have Benintendi now, you have Danny Duffy, you have Brady Singer. You got a good mix of guys. You got Mike Minor now, you got Carlos Santana now. Like this team is gonna make an impact at some point this year. They're gonna whether it's a trade with Carlos Santana or Mike Minor, or it's them just sweeping a team in August or in September when a team's trying to make that final run or a team is trying to get that special number down, they're eventually going to make an impact because a guy like Carlos Santana and Mike Minor and Whit Merrifield have been there and done that over years and years and years in Major League Baseball. They're guys who can go out and win baseball games. I know what the numbers say. The numbers say they're all declining. That's fine, but that's in the big picture. You got to look at the small pictures in August and September. Got to look at the baby pictures. Each little pixel means something, right? Right, and these are guys who can go out there and do it when it needs to get done, and they're going to be a team that's going to make an impact at some point on a postseason contender.
I like where we're at. I think we've a good mix together of teams and nothing really. We've kind of been on the same page, but not enough to
repeat each other.
But yeah, no,
I agree.
Like where we're at is underrated.
I agree. You got any final hot takes here as we kind of wrap it up?
You want a hot take or you want a molten lava scorching hot take?
I want to lick the sun.
Oh, prepare to have the sun brought to you because I think if he puts it together, Aaron Buxton will be in the MVP conversation this year.
You're lucky I'm a little higher on Byron Buxton than most. I love Buxton. I'm with you.
Yeah, you said you wanted to lick the sun.
I wanted to lick the sun, but buddy, I was already on Venus, man. I was close to that sun already. Someone else is licking the sun right now and getting upset with that, but I'm with you. I am wholeheartedly with you. That if Byron Buxton can put it together for 3/4 of a season, he will be in the MVP conversation.
Well, I guess I'll rephrase. Byron Buxton will get MVP votes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Joey Gallo hit 60 home runs.
See it.
Look, the last time he was fully healthy last time he was fully healthy in 2019, that 2-month stretch, he had the best peripherals of anyone in Major League Baseball. He was unbelievable. He had over 1,000 OPS. He was walking a ton. His strikeout rate was down. Everything we knew about Joey Gallo was starting to get better. Then he got hurt. And then I'm not counting last year. I think Joey Gallo can truly hit 60 nukes this year. Unless they just walk him, which, I mean, there's no one else in that lineup to really help that not happen. But I think Joey Gallo can hit 60. And on top of that, I think Ronald Acuna is going to go for 40-40 this season. I'm not sure that's hot. That's been talked about a lot. But 40 home runs is in the bag for Ronald. If he needs to go steal 40, I think he can steal 40. It's just a matter of him staying healthy.
It would be cool to see somebody hit 60 again. We really haven't had anybody come out. I guess Judge hit what? 50 something. Alonso hit 50. That's really it.
Mm-hmm.
It would be cool to see somebody hit 60. If there's a guy to do it, it'll be Gallo.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah. He'll have to have like a Giancarlo Stanton MVP season to do it, but I think he can do it.
I guess Stanton was probably the closest. I think he hit 57.
Mm-hmm.
17. This is kind of going the same lines. I don't know if this is necessarily a hot take, but I think the Texas Rangers will be the worst team in baseball next year.
Yeah, no, they're bad. They're really bad.
Really bad.
Really, really bad.
And again, I'm not sure that's a hot take, but I think if you asked casual fans who's going to be worse, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, or although Pittsburgh's making it really hard.
They are. When Jacob Stallings is like their best player.
You know what, though? I'm looking at their projected lineups. I like Pittsburgh a lot more than I like Texas, honestly.
I think Texas has more upside, but Pittsburgh has a little bit more consistency.
Just has no pitching.
No.
None.
Jordan Lyles.
Could be their number one.
They have Mike Fultonevich and Colby Allard. They have what was getting me excited in 2017 for the Braves.
Yeah.
They also have Charlie Culberson. The Texas Rangers are the
Yeah.
2017 Braves.
Yeah, punch it. I think the Rangers would be the worst team in baseball. Hot take or not, you decide. But
Here's my
it's
last
my
one.
prediction.
Here's my last one. As you know, I have the NL East going: Atlanta Braves, Washington Nationals, New York Mets, Philadelphia Phillies, and then the Miami Marlins. I have the New York Mets finishing closer to the Phillies than the Washington Nationals. No, you won't agree with it. No, no one on this planet will agree with me. I do not care. I do not think Marcus Stroman is a consistently good enough pitcher. I think Thor's always hurt. Do not try to sell me on Taiwan Walker. Don't even try it. Carrasco doesn't move the needle. Lindor had a terrible season last year. Pete Alonso is Pete Alonso. He'll be fine. He'll be good. Conforto's good. Brandon Nimmo does not move the needle. J.D. Davis does not move the needle. Edwin Diaz will at least give you 10 losses there late games. I'm not saying I think the Mets will finish. I think the Mets will make the playoffs. I think they'll be the second wildcard team, but I wholeheartedly agree that they will finish closer to the Phillies than they will the Nationals. Maybe that's me being higher on the Nationals than it is being lower on the Mets. I'll let you decide.
You want a Mets related hot take? Here's my Mets related hot take.
Oh God.
If Syndergaard comes back healthy, I think the Mets will have a better starting rotation ERA than the Dodgers this year.
See, there's hot takes and then there's just stupid takes, and that's one of them.
We'll see. I think it'll be close regardless.
You know what?
Fair. You're really
if that's your take, fair. That's your take, fair. You can't.
I mean, we're talking hot takes. We're not talking lukewarm takes.
That's fine. That's fine. It's hot, all right. It is hot to expect that Marcus Stroman and Noah Syndergaard.
We talked about how Bauer could fall apart. Price hadn't pitched in a year.
We'll just replace him with Gonsolin in May. Don't you worry about it.
Again, I mean, Gonsolin's good, but we've only seen 60 games from him too.
All right. Hear me out. DeGrom or Kershaw? Who are you taking?
Huh.
All right. Bueller, Thor. Bauer, Stroman.
Bauer.
Walker or pick one. Pick one of the others. Okay, correct. The guy who never mind. I can't say that. The guy who was injured a couple years ago and hasn't really found his footing since.
Take Carrasco over David Price.
Would you take Carrasco over Dustin May?
Yeah, maybe.
Would you take Carrasco over Gonsolin? How about Urias? Okay, so let's slide Urias in there too, because Price already said he'll go to a bullpen role again.
I did caveat. I did not say pitching staff. I said starting rotation because I'm not expecting Urias to be in the rotation. I'm expecting him to be.
That's fair. That's fair. If that's your hot take, roll with it, baby.
And again, I'm not saying it'll happen.
It's just a hot take.
It's
hot takes, baby.
It's a hot take for a reason. I'm just saying I could see it happening.
They're hot and they're off the stove. They're hot off the stove, baby. Yeah, that's gonna.
This thing boiled over. We got a grease fire.
Yes, we do. We have. Yeah. With those last two takes, we are at forest fire California levels at this point. we're global warming central over here. But with that being said, I think it's gonna wrap us up here for section 3 of our final comeback season here at Ferret's God. We hope to catch you guys next week.